Hello and welcome, I'm Ethan7878, and in today's video we're taking a look at the Shinonome, premium tier 6 Japanese destroyer. Now this isn't a premium you can buy, it's actually a reward for finishing a campaign. You finish a bunch of missions and quests with tier 8 to 10 ships, and you get this tier 6 Japanese destroyer in return. Now it's modeled largely off the Fubuki, which is now at tier 6. And if you're familiar with the Japanese destroyers, you'll know that they focus mostly on their torpedoes as opposed to their guns. The few exceptions to that are the Akizuki and then the upcoming tier 9 and 10 extensions of that gunboat line. However, for the most part, Japanese destroyers really mainly like to stick to their torpedoes. And the Shinonome is no exception to that. Of course, it does have better than average guns. However, considering that average in the Japanese destroyer line is still pretty bad, that isn't saying very much. Now the Shinonome, as I've mentioned, is based off the tier 6 Japanese destroyer Fubuki in the torpedo boat line. That eventually leads to the Shimakaze. It has 3 triple-mounted torpedo launchers, or torpedo tubes. They fire to a range of 8 kilometers as opposed to the Fubuki's fully upgraded 10. They go 63 knots, and they deal 14,600 damage. So these are really essentially the Fubuki stock torpedoes, but with an extra 2 kilometers of range. And the reload is very quick. It's only 73 seconds before you factor in skills like Adrenaline Rush or Torpedo Armament Expertise. Now you'll notice I'm actually using my guns, which is something that stereotypically Japanese destroyer captains are very, very hesitant to do. And that's because, as I mentioned, the Shinonome does have decent guns. It can hold its own. Not for very long, but it can... If it was facing a frigate, it could deal some damage to it before having to run away and lick its wounds. Whereas the Fubuki, at tier 8 had 3 triple-mounted, or 3 dual-mounted guns. At tier 6 it now only has 2 dual-mounted guns, so 6 barrels in total. However, the Shinonome keeps those 6 guns. Now there are 5-inch guns, standard destroyer guns that you'd see, with the usual 1800 high explosive alpha damage. But having 6 of them, they take a massive hit. Everyone has decided that since I'm the only ship on this side, they're all going to switch to high explosive, which is not great. But you do have something around 3,600 alpha damage if you manage to land all 6 shells, which is the highest of your tier. Now the guns do take 8.9 seconds to reload, whereas the Fubuki tier 6 only takes 8. But it's more of a alpha damage rather than damage over time. So you can take a shot, duck into cover, reload for 10 seconds, take another shot. Whereas you'll notice the American lines are more just firing as many shells as possible. Now our team is pretty much exclusively going down the eastern side, and they're going to actually make a good push of it because they're facing only half of the enemy team. The other half, of course, being on this side of the map. And we are 6 minutes in, and so far I haven't done very much. I only have a few shell hits on the enemy Mutsuki, and 1 torpedo hit and a flood on that Omaha, or on another Omaha that actually got sank earlier on. And the Omaha that's still alive is getting very close to our base, and I'm gonna hit the Iron Duke with one... No, not quite. Torpedo runs out of steam just a few meters away from hitting its target. Now I do consider shooting this Omaha with my guns, because of course you do have with 6 guns you have a good alpha damage. But I decide against it, given that he would probably start shooting at me, and then we'll have 2 battleships shooting at me, and I'm better off concealing my position. So I just stick with the torpedoes instead. And of course at this range, the armor piercing would do a decent amount of damage, might even score a citadel or so. Omaha is a low-tier cruiser with very little armor, so it could happen. However, the Omaha turns around, and if you've been looking at the mini-map, you'll notice that there's been a fighter plane circling around the exact center of the map, and we had a T-22 and Emile Bertin who were spotted heading up the middle. And I think the T-22 has just started capping, and in fact there he is. So I call target on him, because he is presenting himself right in front of 2 or 3 or 4 battleships. And if they all focus their fire on him, then he can be eliminated quickly. Now the last torpedo salvo that I sent to the Omaha has missed, but you'll notice that with this really quick 73-second reload, which is, I believe I'm running AR on this ship, reload is already being improved. Maybe not. But I always have some torpedoes ready to launch, and the Omaha kind of catches me off guard as I'm focusing on launching against the battleships down south. He does turn, so I slow down and I pop my smoke screen so as to not... Alright, I pop my smoke screen and slow down. I don't want to outrun my smoke screen. And I fire at the Omaha. I reset him, however, there is still the Emile Bertin and the T-22 who are accumulating capture points. So, still just taking a few pot shots at these guys, and I land one torpedo, I think on either the Iron Duke or the Colorado. And there's the Bertin. So I fire at him, but I believe one of the battleships might have already gotten a reset on him. And I'm going to continue firing. These guys don't seem to be very accurate with their guns, and I still have most of my health, so I can afford to take a few hits if it means delaying and allowing our main force, our battleships, to come back and help us. And they are. We do have a Scharnhorst who has decided to turn around and come defend the base. Now I stopped shooting and I managed to go dart. And the Iron Duke, well, he's an Iron Duke, of course he's firing high explosive. He misses, and I send some torpedoes his way as well. And now take a look at the Sims that's down at H9 who's helping with the push. And he's actually going to make his way all the way back to our base and end up helping out. Which, you know, it's always... I want to notice these kinds of things when people actually take the time and turn around and help you out when it's for the objective.
Engine boost activated.
Anyway, I land another torpedo on the Iron Duke, who had previously eaten one and used his repair. And I think the Congo is the person who is nailing the Bertin with doing all that damage to him. And I think we sunk the T-22 somewhere along the way. So now it's only the Bertin who is in the cap. Well, I say that, but the Colorado's getting close, and that Mutsuki hasn't been spotted in a long time, and you'll notice that enemy has capture progress, but I'm not resetting it, which means there must be someone else in the cap who actually has all the points. So I decide to turn around, regroup. I am still firing at the Bertin because he's only on 2,500 health. And if I could just... every bit of damage helps. And I let him sail outside of 9 kilometers because my gun firing range is 9 kilometers. That's the thing with the Shinonome. You have really good torpedoes. Speaking of which, torpedo beats right there. You have these great torpedoes but short range. You have powerful guns but short range. So it forces you to play in close and, you know, get close to the enemy. Someone does say we are about to lose the base. I believe that's actually the Sims. See there, he's already made it back up to D7, trying to help out. And I fire some torps at the Colorado, who's now in the base. And the enemy is capping so fast that there's no other option. It must be the Mutsuki somewhere in there. So my plan at this point is to sit behind the island and sit in the cap and just freeze their progress because they can't cap if I'm also in the base. And that's when the Mutsuki gets spotted. So of course I have my guns pointed in the right direction because the turret traverse on Japanese destroyers is pretty slow. But I managed to hit him and reset the cap. I only get one reset, and then I land 3 torpedoes on the Colorado for 25,000 damage, and that's roughly half of his health. And here's the Mutsuki. And the Mutsuki starts to open fire on me, and I figure, well, I have a Congo and a Sims right here, and he is firing, so he's going to be spotted. So I decide to stop and use my smoke screen and get some free damage off on him. I'm actually about to cross 100,000 damage just from delaying all these battleships who are coming up the west side and dealing damage to them along the way. And I'm spotted through my smoke screen because of the new detection mechanics. And I think that Sims just he set the fire and then he eventually shot the Fubuki. And I'm waiting to launch these torps until I know the Congo is clear of the way. And the Colorado is hammering me with the secondaries, but we managed to finish him off. So the cap is more or less defended, and our team should be able to now take the enemy base without too much trouble, given how many players they committed to pushing up the west. We're not quite out of the woods though, there is still the enemy Iron Duke. And with the Sim spotting him, and the Sims just took a big hit because of the high explosive, but I figure I have a few seconds of smokescreen left. I'm gonna try and get just a little bit more damage. And my smokescreen is dissipating, and he is now within my smoke firing protection range. So even outside of 2 kilometers, he does end up spotting me. But again, fast reloading torpedoes, they're almost ready to fire again. So all I need to do is survive for a few more seconds, and then I'll sink him as he comes around the corner of the island. And in fact, I end up beaching a quick little buy, and that's one more battleship sunk. So, our base is clear of... What are those? That's just Sims. Okay. Our base is clear of enemy ships. And you know, I take the time to tell my team thanks for coming back to help, because it is always nice to know that you've done the right thing. It's nice to let your team know that they've actually played smart, which is more than you can say for most teammates you can get nowadays. And we sink the enemy Bretagne, and then they sink our Emile Bertin, and we sink the Koenig, and that's pretty much the game. So let's have a look at the post-battle results screen. So I ended up with 139,000 damage, 2 kills, 11 torpedo hits, and 9 floods, as well as a couple of base defense ribbons for good measure. I also earned the Confederate and High Caliber awards. Now the team score, you'll see that I topped my team with 1903 base experience. It does seem low, but it is tier 7, so the base experience numbers are just a little bit lower in general. Now the detailed report, you'll see immediately 81 torpedoes launched, and that's again thanks to the quick reload on these torpedo tubes. Most of my damage came from the Iron Duke and the Colorado, although I did also use my guns on ships like the Omaha and the enemy destroyers. I also used up my entire health pool, leaving me with only around 400 health by the end of the battle. Finally, credits and experience. It is a premium ship, so even without premium time, I did bring in a bunch of money and experience. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something about how potent the Japanese destroyers can be when they're in charge of delaying the enemy, and why you really don't want to push into them when you're in, say, a big slow battleship. If you like this video, make sure you leave a like before you leave. If you want to see more videos like this, then make sure you hit the subscribe button, or check out my channel for more videos. I've been Ethan7878. Thank you very much for watching.